And I remember back then I heard an advice from a mentor I had. The advice was pretty simple. He said, just do more of what works and focus on what works. Morning traders, welcome back to Gdansk in Poland. I've been kind of forgetting a very important point about Gdansk. It's just near the ocean, and the past few days I've been here in the city all the time. So it's time to do things different a little bit. Good morning. And just like that, we made it to the beach. It was quite a big ride to come here, but yeah. Now I'm excited, so let's check out what that looks like. It's only 9:30 a.m. and there's already a lot of people on the beach, so that's gonna be crazy this afternoon, I think. But yeah, let's go back, and I need to work a little bit. I'll try to find a coffee shop to work this morning, and we'll get to explore a little bit more after. This right now feels like a ghost town, but check this out, in a few hours it's gonna be packed with people. I'm pretty sure all the places around here open at like 12 p.m. so we'll see in a few hours. Good session of work, and of course looking at the chart at I think 11 here. That's the time I have to look at the chart. That's done. Now, being near the ocean like this would be an irony not to go to a seafood restaurant. So I'll try to walk back to the ocean and pick a restaurant. Made it to the seafood place. Should be good. Prices are quite reasonable. I'm kind of impressed compared to like the old city and stuff. This is pretty good. Thank you. Alright guys, I'm gonna try to keep this as positive as I can. Food was kind of good. Costed 46 PLN, whatever you call these in Poland. So it's kind of alright. But I tried to boost the bill, which is not really funny, that's really cool. But anyway, it's alright. Problem solved now. So now I want to bring you guys back a few years ago and tell you guys kind of a story. Back in 2015, I had been trading a strategy that I trade now for a little bit of time. But by that time I had also been trying out a lot of different strategies. Every time I followed a course or I was hearing something from someone that was interesting to trade, I would try it out and I would try to trade it. I would try to build a strategy around it. I would tend to make mistakes. I would tend to not take the trade properly, or take the trade too late, or second guess myself, or not be sure 100% of what I was doing. And I remember back then I heard an advice from a mentor I had. The advice was pretty simple. He said, just do more of what works and focus on what works. Now this is a great business advice, but it transfers I think as well to trading. So instead of following 100 different systems and trying all these things at the same time, I was sitting there one day and I asked myself, well, what is it that I do now that works? And the answer I came up with pretty fast was these Bollinger Band reversal trades. I know how to trade them, I know how to take them, I know how to spot them, and I can pretty much take the trade without any problem. So the answer I came up with at that time was to just trade more of those. Since those work, since I know how to use them, and I tend to enter the trade when I need to enter the trade, I thought I could just trade this more. Now you cannot just trade more of that in any way, right? You have to be smart a little bit about it. And the answer I came up with, instead of trading all these strategies on different time frame, looking at breakout, pullback, reversal, was to only trade reversals, but I would go on multiple time frame. And since I was good at that setup, I could probably trade that setup more easily without too many mistakes. And I just went on that. I forget all the other strategies I was playing at that time, only to focus on puncture bands and only reversal trades. Now the result of this is I basically had only one thing to do in the market. Only look for these puncture band setups and only take them, and that's it. I didn't have to have multiple indicators on the chart, didn't have to identify where the market was at and what I had to trade for that case. The only thing I would trade all the time was the same thing. And the result is kind of hard to quantify here. But I've been able pretty fast to get out of a drawdown I was in at that time with all these different strategies. And even though some strategies produced great return at that time, even though those were great, in the end, I was focusing on what I was good at. And this allowed me to execute my strategies without too many mistakes and without all these bad trades I had at that time, which could be a big factor in your trading. If you trade something and you have a lot of bad trade, which means you don't respect the plan, you do something different, then of course the result won't be the same. And it's very hard to track all these strategies, what you do, if you're not a master at each one. You could implement them over time, that's understandable. But in the beginning, what I was doing with all these things at the same time, that was trying to achieve a big goal too early. And it didn't work. So what I want you guys to do, pretty simple, is once you know something works, and once you have some abilities to spot and trade a setup, or to use a tool, don't go and find all these other ways to make you a profitable trader. Focus on what you know works, and make sure you test the hell out of it to know that it really works, and then just do that. If it doesn't work with the test you do, find some ways to make it better. But don't change and don't go to other methods that you hear on podcasts or videos or books because they tell you they work. It's more about what you're good at and what you understand the best. And that advice saved me from so many hours of possibly researching different strategies, trying different tools that I might not have been able to execute, right? If you know something works, you do that and it's gonna work great. Around the oceans, like a bunch of parks like this with a lot of trees. It's kind of quiet, kind of calm and interesting to walk through, and it's really good with the weather that's really hot. To have some trees with some shadows, that's really cool. The beach is cool, but there's not much to do here around. It's pretty quiet in the day. And yeah, so let's call a Uber and head back to the old city.